We have literally generation after generation after generation that is coming up. Do you guys realize that the 13 through 18-year-olds literally in less than 30 days decided they were going to communicate on an entirely different device? How many of you know, or how many of you have kids that are 13 to 18 or no kids 13 to 18 that thinks Facebook is for dead people? You know what I mean? Like, but we'll sit down with the business owner and a business owner will say, oh, I'm not going to use Facebook, that's for kids. I'm like, huh? Not so much. Actually, you have entire populations of people that decide they're going to communicate with an entirely different device, and they're going to leave everyone else in the dust in less than a 30-day time frame. Imagine trying to run your business and communicate with a crowd that literally as a population said, we don't use phones, we don't use email, we use blank. Whatever blank is. I love what Eve said. She said you have to meet people where they are. And really, this entire conversation is about being flexible with your communication. It's about change. It's about development. It's about evolution. It's about paying attention. It's about making decisions quickly to be able to change how you communicate, where you communicate, who you communicate with, and realize that people are influenced very greatly by each other. It's no different than 20 years ago without technology that we would stand on a corner and we'd have a conversation about the best schools, the best place to get your kids sports gear or whatever that is. It's communication. We're all influenced. The only thing we're talking about is how do you leverage technology to bend time and communicate with people where they are. So everything we do, I wanted to introduce you to my family because we run a mobile business. We have a digital marketing agency, CI Web Group. We're in 3 countries. We're in 3 states in the United States. We have 25 full-time people, and we're mobile. We teach lifestyle. I love that you clapped in the back of the room when Eve was talking about make sure that you consider people's lifestyle. We run a lifestyle business. To us, there are really no hours. We've got a 24/7 clock. We also take about 12 vacations a year, and in those vacations we're working and recording. I think we're going to Cabo, right, in Seattle, and we just got back from Costa Rica, and we just got back from Seattle for 2 months. Excuse my cough. You come back from 70 to 85 degree weather and come back to 108 in Texas, and it really, really gives you a total tail whipping. Okay, so this is just the last, what, 60 days? Everything in business right now is changing. More corporations are allowing you to be able to work remotely. Hopefully they're considering family time and so forth, but really it's about being able to work, communicate, and do business from anywhere, any day. You guys said mobility. Sometimes that has to do with how well my joints work. In this case, this is entirely about the ability and knowing that your team has the ability to work from anywhere, anytime, any day. So if one of my staff calls and they said, oh, I've got a kid and they're going through some things, I'm like, simply, hi, oh, I love you, thank you. You hear it? It's a little raspy in here, huh? My voice really doesn't sound like this. But really, it's about allowing people to be able to work within their means. All right. So I have 2 topics today. One is crowdsourcing, and the other is communities. We're going to talk about crowdsourcing. But I want you to see, this is essentially the use of outside entities to be able to formulate new decisions, information, products, services, and so forth, to develop ideas. We're greater than the sum of us. We're greater than the team, the focus group. We're greater than the department, right, within here. We're greater than the mastermind or the brainstorming group and so forth. We literally have an organization or a community of outside influences. Old school, one-to-one. One to social, two-way social. Now, crowds, allowing communities and groups to exchange information and ideas. The great part is, you don't have to put these people on your budget. You have access to unlimited resources without actually having a payroll item on your budget, which is very smart and healthy for any company. All right. Next, in a world of widely distributed information, where boundaries between a firm or an agency or a company and its environment have become more permeable, companies cannot afford to rely entirely on their own means, which is entirely on your own ideas, or that group's ideas. We have to figure out ways to be able to reach out, gather information, gather ideas. I love what you've said about sitting down as a group asking questions, getting questions from more than one person. In the old days, a social media company would have a one-to-one relationship. A project manager would pick up the phone, talk to the client. That one influencer would get all of the information, ask all of the questions, versus in her situation, she's taken a group and having a group ask different questions so they come from different areas of the business, different perspectives. Crowdsourcing. There's a lot of different kinds of crowdsourcing, but I'm going to concentrate on these 5. Anybody heard of open source? Yes? By the way, all the supply chain people 10 years ago, that used to be my background. It makes my knees weak thinking about it. All right, first, open source. Second, expert tasks, which is outsourcing, crowdsourcing to outsource, getting things done by other companies. Next, open innovation, data processing, as well as crowdfunding. You're familiar with these terms, or are these pretty new? Pretty new? Raise your hand. Awesome. Well, let's start first with open source. So, go ahead, shoot. All right, best sample of open source is in the web environment. We design and build websites. There are applications, old school applications, such as Wix, GoDaddy's website builder, Yahoo site builder, Intuit website builder, where they build a piece of technology. It's inexpensive. They throw it out to the crowd. It's owned by that company, Microsoft licensee, and so forth. And they sell that version versus WordPress. To me, WordPress is remarkable. It's a content management system. How many of you have heard of it? You realize WordPress is built by a community of developers that is millions deep from around the world. From Ukraine, Russia, United States, Asia, India, and so forth. This entire base of individuals, these are real smart people, much smarter than I am, they come together and literally collaborate, co-create, and develop an application that technically, from the second you install it, you have millions and millions of dollars in technology sitting on your server supporting your web application. Millions from day one. It changes and it upgrades and it grows constantly. If you have a website that's built in one of the platforms that was built internally by the small group of people, there was no external influences, you probably have a website that's built in tables, can't be crawled by Google, and has no marketing value. Are we in a time where we can get away with not leveraging technology to grow our business? Right? Most of the time when I ask organizations or individuals, what prevents you from doing the right things in technology, they say, I don't have enough. Survey says? Time. Okay? However, how many of you consider yourself in sales? If you're employed, you're pitching for new software, new services, new headcount, new salaries, a job raise, a promotion. How many of you are married? Better salespeople than you thought, right? You have kids. I know you have bedtimes and curfews to deal with. If you are in a sales environment, how many of you find yourself repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over like Groundhog's Day? Every day, all day. Absolutely. The challenge is when we say I don't have enough time, but we spend our time day in and day out with duplicate, redundant, and repetitive processes, such as having the same presentation and speech and spiel and education information every single day. At some point, we have to have a kind of a reality check. We've got to stop ourselves and say, what if I was to take this information I repeat on a daily basis, digitize it so other people can find it, and I can go do something else? And that's leveraging technology to bend time. I can't buy more time, but I can create more time, and I can do that through digitization. Open source, okay? Open source, crowdsourcing is another one. So open source, we talked about the building of technology utilizing people from around the world. Outsourcing, for example, if you were looking to market your company, there's some things you probably need to have in place. You need to have a social media strategy. You need to have content, right? That's your communication, your message. Everything is about content. You need to have a website. You need to have your brand built. You need to have video, mobile, social, SEO, SEM, email marketing, CRM integration. You need to think about local. You need to think about paid ads and so forth. If you were going to hire these resources in-house, anybody want to take a guess what it would take to have that many resources in-house? Salaries? Is it a lot? $500,000 plus? Easily, not including benefits or turnover or training or any of the other things supporting all the equipment. Crowdsourcing through outsourcing. So there's applications such as 99 Designs, where you put in a design, you have hundreds of designers that compete in order to gain your business. That's a way you have to be careful with certain types, because if you don't have a cohesive strategy where your social media team and your web team and your SEO team and so forth are all working together, you're probably going to get a hodgepodge. So there are pros and cons to outsourcing. Outsourcing without a collaborative strategy, that can cause problems. However, as long as you have a cohesive strategy, you can easily get things done without having to add all these resources to your bottom line in a full-blown budget, just by borrowing specific percents of time. Cool? All right. Next, crowdsourcing as far as innovation. Eve brought up multiple ways that you can use crowdsourcing for innovation. Everybody sees Google's logos, yes, that are submitted constantly year-round. So whether it's logos or branding, whether it's new products or services, creative submissions, if you're doing voting or campaigns, there's a ton of different ways that you can bring people into your organization and allow them to help you create what they want. We're not selling to businesses. We sell to people. Everybody used to talk about the difference between B2B and B2C, right? The bottom line is we are a person-to-person environment. We sell to people. If you are a small business and you sell to corporations, you better be thinking about, how can I make you look good? How can I make that person feel fulfilled? So we have to be very careful with that. But the more information we can get from other organizations, co-constituents, your customers, your vendors, your strategic partners, and so forth, they're going to provide a tremendous amount of value and save you a ton of resources. All right, data processing. A lot of times we have a lot of data that comes into our company. Eve talked a little bit about one of the organizations that had information, allows them to process. New York Times had a huge amount of emails regarding Sarah Palin, and they couldn't figure out how to be able to gather what was newsworthy or not. So they actually publicized, gathered a group of people, put all those emails out there, and had people review the emails and highlight and submit what was newsworthy. Quick way to get rid of a whole bunch of administrative costs. Next, how many of you have filled out the reCAPTCHA or know what that is? So when you're filling out a form, at the very bottom of that form, you'll see muddy words, right? Either words or numbers or a combination. Did you know that when you are filling that out, you're actually contributing to a new software product that reads scanned documents that are poorly scanned? So they're leveraging a security application. They created a WordPress plugin. WordPress is the largest content management system in the world. They made it free, allowed every single WordPress owner to install it, and created multiple APIs so anybody that has a web form on their website can have a reCAPTCHA in it, while they're leveraging you figuring out what those little words say over and over and over again, possibly 4 to 6 times, getting frustrated, so that they can scan documents. Great way to start up a new product, huh? All right. Innovative communities. So a lot of times we get stuck in what is social. Social networks and innovative communities are very, very different. Innovative communities is essentially a community that's focused on a particular niche. So it allows you to really dive into a particular niche where you may have strategic partners, vendors, and service providers that are within the same industry. A lot of times you can get more bang for your time out of a social community, but it's really important to figure out, between social communities and social media networks, how do you leverage both? One of the most powerful things you can do is, if within your industry there is no specific community, it's to start one. So if you can imagine, in my industry, I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm in the web industry. The old school mentality, or the old school thought process, is everyone who's in my industry is a competitor and I want to stay as far removed from them as possible, right? Imagine if I was to create a directory for every digital marketing agency to post its content, put information, list their business, and so forth. I don't consider them as competitors. However, I want to leverage their resources, their marketing dollars, their budgets, to get my business in front of their prospects who already know who they are. If I had 1 million, 1,000, 100,000 companies just like mine in a directory, all contributing content, would we become more powerful on the internet? Absolutely. And if I happen to own it and I happen to broadcast or put my company in a more prominent position, how am I leveraging their dollars from our marketing efforts? If you think about it, within your industry, there are other companies that have bigger budgets or have more newsworthy things going on in their company. We need to not think that these are only competitors. We need to start thinking about, I can leverage, technically, a competitor's marketing dollars or newsworthiness. For example, let's say Eve and Eve's book. She launches a book. If I write an article about Eve and her book, Eve's spending money going around and she's traveling, she's promoting her book, and she's got a PR agency, and everybody's spending all these dollars. So she is getting in front of new prospects. People are Googling Eve, they're Googling social media for the CEO and so forth. If they find her and I'm right next to her on Google, I get a soft introduction to her contacts based on promoting her book. Is she a competitor? Not by any means. That alliance gives people options. So part of communities is figuring out how can you leverage other people's successes, budgets, resources, and so forth to create new introductions by lining yourself up or positioning yourself online next to them. How many of you have had a successful campaign in leveraging someone else's product or service to generate new leads or opportunities for your business? You want to talk to me about it?
Yeah, we do a lot of partnering with... Sorry, my name is Kevin Mason, and I work in an oil firm. So we do a lot of partnering with very large technology firms, software, hardware. And what we'll do is we'll take our network to entice them. We'll take our network to entice them to come share their products with our customers. But what we do is we partner with them. So we'll say, hey, you please look at our partners. And what we'll do is follow them around their businesses and their clients. So we use that all the time. It's how we sell it.
Excellent. Very good. Anyone else? I saw a couple hands go up. All right. In a marketing environment, no matter whether it's co-creation, collaboration, communities, networking sites, and so forth, we have to remember that everything boils down to communication and our ability to change and flow, ebb and flow. We got to be able to move. So the challenge is, most of the time within our organization, we're making decisions based on personal preference, especially when it comes to marketing. So the original topic was, how do you leverage technology, or how do we make more money, right? How do we increase our net worth as an individual so that we're more positioned better individually for advancement, growth, mobility, upward or outward and within a company or externally, as well as for those of you that are business owners. We have to figure out, how do you leverage communication in a technology environment so that you can grow while you do other things. If you think about social media and web, and I want to make sure this is real clear, you have social media sites such as Facebook, LinkedIn, well actually let me back up. You have Facebook, Twitter, Dig, Dug, StumbleUpon, and so forth. Those social media sites, are they permanent assets when you post a piece of content, or is it temporary? Those of you that think it's permanent, raise your hand. Temporary? Okay. What about a blog or a video? Permanent? Raise your hand. Or temporary? Raise your hand. Okay. Think about, and I was curious if there was some confusion on this. When you post a piece of content on Facebook or Twitter, for example, you have literally seconds before that content goes into dismal space, right? Because you don't go into somebody's page and you go sift through 2012, 2013, and so forth. So that is designed in each one of these situations as something that is going to get instant visibility for those of you who happen to be on your page, who happen to be displayed your content, and happen to take action right then by reading it, viewing, commenting, or sharing. However, in the web space, you have video and blog content that actually has a compounding interest impact on your business. When I say that, if you have a co-creation project and you guys are coming up with a new contest or idea or campaign or service or product, You have to make sure the positioning of your content both is powerful in the immediate presence and has a compounding impact on your business. So think about it this way. When you create a video and you post it on YouTube, what happens to that video over time? What happens over time? You increase views. Your visibility increases. The more people that review that video, the more powerful that asset becomes to your business, which is exactly the opposite than a Facebook post, right? If I post a piece of content on Facebook, what happens to it over time? It loses value, right? It devalues itself. With a video, it increases value over time. Now, if I'm to take that video and I'm to go to WordPress and I'm going to create a new post, which technically is considered a blog, it can be an FAQ, it can be a testimonial, it can have any categorization that we deem. But if I take that video and I go over and I add a chunk of content, I give it a great title, now I have the same video that's been used in two different forms. One, it's been used on YouTube, that's one network that grows in space. In addition to that, I posted it a blog with a great title. The longer a post or an individual piece of paper is on the internet, the more visibility that it has, the more powerful it becomes. So technically in your business, the marketing you're doing today is actually in a web world as far as video and your website is more powerful 10 to 18 months from now. The content you're posting in a social media is right then and there. The goal is to figure out what content has the most amount of power and strength and to repurpose that content at different times within your social media networks, so you only have to create the content once, make it extremely powerful, and that content can be reused, respun at different times, so hopefully you can catch a different audience on your social media accounts, and you're leveraging your most powerful assets, which is your content. Make sense? In every one of our business, content is king. But it's really about creating content that is so informational and so valuable that you would consider another news, media, or credible resource that if you were to send them that article, they would say, you know what, I'm going to reference that. That's smart. A smart way to create content, even in a co-creation or a collaboration environment, is going to be in a top or in a list environment. So if you said the top 10 ways to save blank, the top 10 things to avoid blank, the top 3 things to implement with blank, and you were to give people information, you can put them through a process. This is, marketing is, as long as you have the right technology in place, marketing is relatively simple. It is about identifying what is most important to your audience. Who can tell you that? Your audience, right? Your prospects. Identifying what is most important to them, identifying the top 10, top 50, top 100 questions that they may have about whatever product or service or initiative that is, digitizing your message in a format that allows it to become a valuable compounding asset, putting it into video environment, your web environment. As long as you have it in a blog post, you now have those 2 permanent assets for your business. Now you have content that can be respun and repurposed through all of your more immediate social media networks. It can also be distributed on an email newsletter. So the process is very simple, actually. Let me draw this real quick. This is you and your content. Hopefully in here you also have some kind of CRM. This is a content management system. WordPress is a content management system. That's your website. It's blank. It's black. Oh, that's why, because it's all done. All right, that's great. Okay, so we'll wrap this up. Your content management system is the delivery mechanism for your business. That delivery mechanism is permanent and has a compounding interest impact, right? It is going to disseminate information to all of the different networks, social media sites, and so forth. Think of this like a heartbeat. Inside this circle, you find out who your audience is, what you're trying to do, what's important to them, co-collaborate, community, gather their information, generate content that's in a permanent fixed asset, distribute that content, and you can do this automated. It doesn't require a tremendous amount of work. Each one of these networks, this may be your Facebook, connected to your Facebook account is 10 other people's, connected to theirs is 10 other people's. Your job in marketing in any of these environments is to connect, engage, and convert. Connect, engage, and convert. Any one of those activities that's missing one of those, you'll have lesser results. I hope this information was helpful to you. If you guys are interested in gaining, actually, you know what? Can I go to, keep going? You have 2 ways to get through this. This is my son. That's our dad, my dad. All of this stuff feels overwhelming. It's not that difficult. I say you have 2 ways to get through it. Either this face or that face, and they're both scared out of their mind. Okay? You guys, I hope this is helpful. There's a piece of paper that has a small evaluation, and also we have books at the back of the room. My coach is Tony Jerry, is a coach to the top 500 CEOs and high achievers in the room. I brought his book for you, which is 100 success tips for anybody that's in business. It will help you personally and professionally, and thank you so much for having us.
Good job.
Thank you.